Hi guys, and welcome to Project Diaries. As you can see, the weather's getting better, but my health is declining quite rapidly, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get into the garden much this year. So instead of not uploading any more videos, I thought I'd try and help all of my UK subscribers with mental or physical disabilities. Now I know that counts as a lot of you, so hopefully today's video will help. I just want to explain what I've been going through over the past year. As you can see, I'm on crutches now and things are just getting pretty bad. But basically you'll get a letter from the government saying that you are now eligible for a system called the Personal Independence Payments. It's also known as PIP. If you're already claiming the DLA, which is the Disability Living Allowance, this is a benefit that people were allowed to claim since 1992. Now this wasn't based on income, this was purely based on how your disability affected you. And this was in two different components, which was the carers component and the motability component. This was to help people with carers who needed help with shopping, etc. And the motability segment was for you to get a vehicle or allow you to pay for public transport. Now if you need an example for that, I spent over £140 last month just getting forward and back from London just to see one out of my 7 doctors. So being disabled costs a lot. So you'll get the letter through the post, which should look like this. Now that will explain that the DLA is coming to an end if you had that already, and asking you to go over to PIP. So once you apply for PIP, you will then get a 40-page questionnaire on how your disability affects you. Now, disabled people are some of the strongest people that I know. We try to be as positive as we can. We try and face lots of problems that life throws at us in the best way possible. But this questionnaire basically gets you to go through with a fine-tooth comb all the bad parts about your disability. Now I completely understand why they're doing this, but it's harsh. It's pretty harsh to go through. For you to then realise and put in black and white how your disability stops you on your everyday life is a tough thing to do. You can also get this in over 12 different languages. If you need any interpreters, you can get help. And you also can fill out a data protection form which allows the DWP to access your medical records to hopefully allow this system to go through smoothly. Now once you've filled out that form, and you filled it out in the best way that you can, now unfortunately this is quite difficult for me to fill out because the questions don't really seem to allow you to have a broad disability. It seems to be a black or white. You can do this or you can't do this. Now my disability affects me differently on every day. The weather can change, like damp weather or cold weather can affect my arthritis and back pain. So it's really hard to fill out these questionnaires, and it's also sort of leaning in the way that they're going to try and catch you out. So just fill it out in the best way that you can. I won't go into this because this is a completely different matter. But once you've done that, you will then get a personal assessment. They will send you a form. Now this is through Atos. Now I don't know if you can see there. Now Atos are extremely controversial, and it's now between 3 different companies. Atos is a French IT company, Capita is the UK IT company, and there's now another one added to the mix, which is Maximus, which is an American IT company, who's put in place, who are now getting £500 million to do these assessments. So once you go through your assessment process, that was only supposed to take a month or so. Mine took 3 months. So I finally got my date, and I was requested that I needed help. I couldn't get upstairs at that point, but they gave me a date for a certain building in my city, and when I got there, there's absolutely no disabled parking at all. There was over 500 metres to the closest parking place, which caused all sorts of problems for my mum to drop me off. She had to leave me, and then when I finally got to the building, there was no ramp, and I had to go up a few stairs, which I really struggled with. Now previous to that night, I was up with so much pain. I was bedbound for that whole week, and I had no sleep. And I got to the assessment. The lady asked me to walk down the corridor, which again was a real struggle for me because it seemed to be at the end. Now I'm not going to say that they're trying to catch you out, but they try to get you to walk a certain distance. and now people were saying that these assessors are watching you walk in the building and how you are before you even get to your assessment. So when I finally got in, I was in complete agony. I couldn't sit in the chair, and the main thing you need to know, the most important thing is that these assessments are done by a healthcare advisor. Now this means that they can work in the health system in any way, shape or form. They could be a midwife, a physio, a nurse, a doctor, a GP, could be anything. So have that in mind, because when she asked me about my disability and I said that I had scoliosis and spinal bifida, she seemed to glaze over and not understand what I was really talking about. Now I thought this assessment was going to be a physical assessment, assessing how my lower body works, how my back curve is and where my pain management was, but she seemed to just ask me questions that were in the original questionnaire. So after 10 minutes of answering these questions, now it just felt like she was trying to catch me out, asking me exactly the same questions that I'd already filled out. So my pain and my frustration got the better of me, and I decided to just say, when's the physical coming? So she managed to change her chair, she moved it over towards me, and she asked me to look her clear in the eye and put my fingers out, and she then squeezed my fingers and asked me to pull my arms towards her. She then put her fingers out, and then I had to squeeze onto her fingers, and then she wheeled her chair back and said that was it for the day. Now I thought this was going to be a full physical examination that was going to take over an hour. I was in and out within 20 minutes, which was quite shocking because I'd waited so long for this assessment. So then the assessor will then send all the information back to the DWP, the Department of Work and Pensions, and they will then come up with the idea and go through a point system and find out whether you qualify for personal independence payments. Now again, I waited a few months for this. Your payments will continue while this is going on, but as soon as the DWP give you your answer and they say no, which they did with me, your payments will stop. If you have a mobility vehicle, you will then have to give it back to whichever garage you hired it from within 4 weeks. Now I find this absolutely disgusting because they seem to not have any medical records for me whatsoever. Now the first form that I signed was the Data Protection Act, so the DWP could look into this, but they had nothing on record. The personal assessor, she didn't seem to understand my disability. She just asked questions that were already written out, and the physical assessment of squeezing fingers had no report back on how my spine was or how my leg is. I have a paralysed left leg. So after a few months, the DWP then came back saying I didn't qualify for this benefit. They also sent me a copy of the assessor's report, and her report came back saying that I had full working lower limbs, upper limbs. Now I've been in a wheelchair, so my upper body strength is fine, and I also lost points for keeping eye contact, which just seemed completely crazy, seeing as all my problems are with walking, standing and sitting, laying or doing anything for long periods. It felt like they were trying to assess me on a mental illness rather than physical illness. So her report came back saying the one paragraph that I was so upset about is the fact that she said that I had full power in lower limbs. Now I'm not sure how she can come to this conclusion when the fact that I've got a paralysed left leg and my left side is a lot weaker. But the DWP took this report as gospel, and they came up with their decision that I did not qualify, and that I could then go for something called the mandatory reconsideration. This allows you to then have another 4 weeks to go back to your GP and try and accumulate as much medical evidence as possible. Now again, this is ridiculous because it's free for doctors to access your records. It was free for the DWP to access your records, yet patients have to pay to access their documents. You can be charged anything between £10 and £50 depending on which documents you're after. Now I already thought the DWP had this, and it took me 3 weeks due to the pressure. Now this is happening to 1.9 million people, remember, So this is putting extreme pressure on general practitioners and the NHS, because people are now not getting the care that they need. So they're bulking up NHS A&E beds and surgeries all across England. So it took me 3 weeks to see my GP, to which she then said that she couldn't help me. She was sick of the way that the DWP are doing this. There was no way she could help me, but if I wanted my records, I could pay X amount of money and get these forms. But the DWP have stopped my money, so I couldn't afford to get these medical records. So I then had to go to various charities that have helped me over my lifetime, as well as the Citizens Advice Bureau, who again are under a lot of pressure because of this same situation. Now here's the best news for people that are going through this system. If you're going through mandatory reconsideration and having to pay for all of your medical records, as of May the 25th, 2018, it is now against the law for your doctor to charge you for medical documents. It will be free from May the 25th, 2018, and this could not have been the best news for disabled people or mentally ill people. This is now going to allow people to get the evidence they need a lot quicker without any financial forward at all. So once I then compiled as much evidence as I could in the week that I had left, I then sent it off to Atos, who were then supposedly processing my claim. After 3 months I heard nothing. I then phoned them up and they basically just kept saying, wait, don't worry about it, things are going on, just wait, don't contact us again. So I just waited. 5 months in, I then got a letter saying that I have missed my deadline and that I can no longer apply for a mandatory reconsideration, which was a shock, because I was like, where's all my evidence? So I then phoned them up again, to which they said that Atos has been having quite a lot of administration problems and technical problems. Now Atos are in place because they're a really highbrow IT company, and they've been doing this since 2013. So they've had 4 years of experience of doing these cases, and yet they're still having administration problems. So I was then given a second chance, where I was then told to wait again, didn't tell me how long, and then Atos finally processed my mandatory reconsideration, which then went back to the DWP. The DWP then pretty much ignored it and said no, they're going to go with what the assessor said, and that's it. My mandatory reconsideration was reconsidered and the answer was still no. So at that point, it is still not over. You can still go to another level, which is called the Tribunal. To apply for a tribunal, you will need to fill out this form, which is the SSC S1 form. This will allow you to take the DWP to court and allow your case to be presented to an independent tribunal. Now this is basically going through a really laid back court system. And this is also paid for by the government. This is just colour by numbers, let's go through the process. Now the Tory government have now actually put in a law to say that this is the way to do it. You cannot do it in any other way. It's illegal to try and get your own solicitors involved. You literally have to go through the process, and it's the longest drawn out system. And bearing in mind, people are still not getting any benefit money at this point, and they're still, whether it's wheelchair bound or Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or any debilitating illness, people are now left to their own devices for as long as Atos and the DWP want to continue this system. So I applied for my tribunal date, and I was told that this would come in within 3 months. These tribunals are now costing the government, aka the British taxpayer, £1 million a week, and 68% of people are now winning at these tribunals, due to the fact that they are now able to process or submit so much more evidence when it comes to these court dates. Well, I waited and waited, and it just went on. 6 months, 7 months, 12 months in, I finally got my tribunal date, and I was panicking so much, I ended up contacting my local Labour MP, who was an absolute star. It was incredible. I absolutely loved that guy. So he then put me onto an advocacy, and now I suggest, if you're at this point, please Google it, please go to your local MP I really sympathise for those people that have a Tory MP as in their constituency, because I very much doubt they're going to go up against their own system. But try to go onto the internet. There's many people that can help you. Please do not feel like you're on your own. I went through some severe mental health issues through this. I hit a depression, the anxiety was bad, my debts were increasing, my pain was increasing, especially after my heart attack. This was the fundamental thing that actually caused my heart attack. I snapped and I couldn't take any more. But I finally got through to the tribunal date, to where my advocate came with me, and he was a star. He was the top of his the top of the company, so he knew exactly what he was doing. To the point where we sat in. Now it's a very low-key system. It's not like a court system. You're basically in an office in a building, and there's 3 people. I will go through this in another video if you want, but I'm going to try and keep today's video short. So we went through, and unfortunately, just before the hearing even started, my advocate had to stand up and say that he knew somebody in the judge. He knew the person who was on the judge's side. And that basically means that that case would have been void. Nobody can know each other. It has to be completely mutual when this happens. Now this is a silver lining for me. Even though I've been waiting for a year and I've had no payments and no income for almost a year, this weirdly turned out great, because the judge turned around to me with all sympathy. The first time I've ever felt any kind of sympathy or understanding. And the judge turned around to me and said, "You have a very weak case, so this is probably a good thing for you. So you need to go and build more evidence." So I then explained the fact that how can I get more evidence when I don't have the money to access my own medical records, and that I was only given a small amount of time, in which it then took me 3 weeks just to see a doctor to get this sorted. She then went above and beyond her duty and asked me to sign another data protection form for her to then go and access my own medical records. Now, you're not going to believe this. She managed to get all of this, which I couldn't access myself. Now, she has managed to uncover so many health problems that I didn't even know I had. This has helped me in so many ways. I cannot thank that lady enough. But again, she said that we couldn't carry on the tribunal at that point. But her sending me that has now given me enough evidence that when I finally get my next tribunal date, which has finally come through in nearly 15 months, I now get it in 2 months' time. I've been sent my tribunal date, and I'm allowed to go up in court and just try and go against the DWP and ATOS to say that they're completely incorrect. So hopefully that's enough information on people just feeling like they're going at this alone. There is so many companies out there. Please, if you found one that you know and has really helped, any links, please put them in the comments below. I want this to help as many people as possible, not just my UK subscribers. This is an awful system where people are dying. They're either dying because they're not getting the care that they've got, or if they have mental health issues, they're turning to suicide, because this is a drawn-out, long system. It's ironic that it's called the personal independence payments, because it turns you into a number, and it completely takes away your independence and stops all of your payments. So I find this is not biased, and this is not a one-off thing. This is happening to people all over the UK, and like I say, over 68% of people are winning their cases. And this isn't just because, 68% doesn't sound much, but you got to think of people with, I have dyslexia, I had lots of problems and I needed lots of help filling out of these forms. There are a lot of people that are not going to fight this system. They're just going to take it and they're going to just wither away and get worse, like I am. But thankfully I've had the cognitive power for me to get out there and try and find solutions. So if you found a solution that works for you, please help everybody that we can. We're a really great community, and just put them in the comments below. But like I say, this is meaning that I can't get into the garden as much, if at all. I do have around 25 other videos from last year that I might be able to sort of go back and tweak and upload as I go, so they're they won't be out of date, but I'm just going to try to continue this channel as much as possible. But I thought I'd explain to you guys that I've been in a hospital. I'm waiting 2 operations now, which I've been fighting to get for years. I've been on waiting lists for between 2 and 4 years for spine specialists and pain management. I've just been through the mill, and I've tried to keep it away from this channel, but I know there's a lot of people out there getting frustrated because I'm not replying to messages, and I've had some really lovely messages from people worried about me. But I won't babble on anymore. I just wanted to explain the situation that I'm in and why there might not be any videos soon. But anyway, take care of yourselves, guys. Please go on my Facebook gardening group and post any photos of success or inspiration that you've had from my video. I could really do with the amount of uplifting positivity and happy photos at this precise moment, because it's just getting hard and I couldn't take any more. But anyway, like I say, take care of yourself, guys, and happy gardening this year. I'll see you again soon.